Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. And speaking of the updates, of course, right now they are not really daily because there's nothing happening. However, if something happens, then I will be here to actually give you some updates. And I usually post these updates like 8 hours before I post the videos. So if you want to know what's happening in the market and if we get another drop like this, for example, I will be here for you. Now, I want to talk about what happened yesterday. I want to talk about what I said in my previous video. And what did I say? Well, I think I have been misunderstood in a way because people think that I called the people who bought down up here actually idiots because they bought up here. I did not really mean to say that. What I meant to say is that if you bought this right here, if you bought this top right here, and then you came into my comments and complained that Cardano was not doing anything, then yeah, you are a big idiot. However, if you bought this right here, you will still be fine in the long term. What I meant to say is that, like I said, if you bought this right here and then you came to complain, then yeah, you are an idiot because you did not buy when Cardano was at 30 cents, and then you bought this right here, you FOMO'd in, and yeah, right now you are complaining because you FOMO'd in instead of, saying that, yeah, maybe I was wrong and maybe, maybe just maybe I should not have bought, when the Cardano price was going up. Maybe I should have bought when it was doing this right here. When I was telling you, by the way, to buy, I mean, of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you when to buy or how much to buy or whatever, but I am telling you that these support zones, I mean, they matter. And we had a support zone right here. The Cardano chart reacted to it multiple times. I actually believe that we got to the 0.618 extension of the first wave right here. And yeah, we never really broke support, which is good. And I did tell you that at some point we will have a huge move to the upside because a cross just happened right here. And just like right now, everybody was calling me crazy. They were calling me names. And what you know, it turned out to be true. After the cross on the bull market support band, we had a huge pump. This is not, new news. I mean, this is not, anything spectacular. I mean, I did tell you this multiple times because it already happened in the past. So I saw no reason why it would not happen again, and what you know, it happened again. Now, speaking of this second wave move, I mean, it has been very, very impulsive, and like I said, I don't really want to see another low, because we already got to this 0.618 support level. However, it is very likely that we get another one if we do not actually 4 and 5 waves up. Right now, we have a 1-2 setup on the chart, but I did tell you already the first wave is only up in 3 waves, so it's not the best looking first wave ever. However, if we hold support, which, it's between 73.5 cents and 56.3 cents, and if we actually bounce at some point, we could form a third wave, then a fourth wave, and a fifth wave, and if we do that, I will actually be able to confirm that the second wave right here is in, but until then, yeah, I cannot really confirm anything. Keep in mind, we are still below the bull market support band, and I talked about this scenario a couple of times in my previous videos. I did tell you that the structure that we are in right now looks very similar to the structure that we were in the previous cycle. Now, like I said, we have 3 scenarios right now. From the Elliott wave count point of view, we are actually up here already. From the structure point of view, we're actually down here. And from the cycle point of view, I mean, in the previous cycle exactly 4 years ago, we were already up here. So I think we can combine what happened in the previous cycle and use it to at least get an idea of what Cardano might do. Like I said, I mean, this right here, this trend line and this trend line, this uptrend basically looks exactly the same as this right here. Here we actually had like 4 touch points, and when we tested it for the 5th time, we actually got above it. And what do you know, here we also have 4 touch points right now, and I think we will test it at some point. We will test it again, but that will only happen if Bitcoin dominance actually starts dropping. Now, before I talk about Bitcoin dominance, I actually want to look at A.Bitcoin because this chart is actually doing what it did in the previous cycle, and I think that's very interesting. For this, let me go on the weekly chart, I guess. And what is it doing? Well, it's in a 1-2 setup right now. And I talked about this scenario a couple of weeks ago. I did tell you that in the previous cycle, after we had this first wave move to the upside, the second wave move actually dropped again, and it dropped below the 0.786 support level right here. And I did tell you that maybe it is a possibility that we do the exact same thing again. Now, I did not really want to believe it because, Cardano was going up, and, when Cardano was going up, you don't really want to be bearish, but that's the worst thing to do. You actually need to be bearish if it's going up because, when everybody is fearful, you should be greedy, and when everybody is greedy, you should be fearful. So I knew that at some point we will have a correction, And what you know, we had the exact same looking correction like we did in the previous cycle. We got below the 0.786 support level again, just like we did right here. And I think right now it's only a matter of time until we actually start the third wave. Now, keep in mind, we could get another low right here. Maybe we could even invalidate the whole 1-2 setup. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I mean, the cycle so far, it's just copying itself. If you look at this right here, it looks very similar to what happened here. Even on the RSI, it's the exact same thing. And yeah, I mean, it's copying what it did. And this is actually not that bad. The ADA Bitcoin chart is not looking too bad because it did not put a new cycle low right here when Bitcoin dominance actually got to like 64%. So even though Bitcoin dominance just hit a new cycle high, ADA Bitcoin did not hit a new cycle low. And that's actually very, very good. Now, as you can see here, we got to the 470 range right here, and that's Satoshi's. And I don't know if we will get another low. If we do, it's not going to be the end of the world. Maybe we will just test these lows right here, before we actually continue. And if we don't get another low, the next target would be up here, and that's the third wave. Now, in the previous cycle, the third wave of this 1-2 setup, right here, got above the 1618 extension of the first wave. So I'm not saying that it will happen again, but it's a possibility, especially if Bitcoin dominance starts dropping again. So maybe the fifth wave will also top at the 200% extension like it did in the previous cycle of the first wave right here. Maybe it will not, I don't know. I don't think ADA Bitcoin will break its all-time high because in the previous cycle it did not, so we'll see what happens. Also, from this high right here to this high right here, we went down about 28%, and if we do the exact same thing again, the next top could be at about 4,500 Satoshis, which is pretty much at the 200% extension right here, so we could top somewhere here. I think it will happen. Like I said, if Bitcoin dominance finally starts dropping. Now, when is it going to drop? Well, it's probably going to drop, like I said, when we start QE. However, you have to keep in mind that in the cycle before the 2021 cycle, we were in QT the whole time that Bitcoin dominance dropped right here. So if we don't get QE, that does not mean that we will not get an altcoin season. I mean, in the previous cycle, yes, the QE started, the altcoin season. However, in the cycle before that, it did not. Here, we were in QT. So we have two possibilities right now, and both of them are bullish in my opinion. I know I've been saying that for a couple of months now, and people are starting to lose patience, but that's crypto to you, and crypto is always unexpected, and anything can happen, and you have to be aware of that. However, you have to keep in mind, in the previous two cycles, the altcoin season actually started in February and in March, and like I said, I was not a fan of this idea because in this cycle, the Bitcoin halving happened like 2 months earlier, so I thought that maybe, just maybe, we would actually start the altcoin season in January rather than March because the Bitcoin halving happened like 2 months earlier, but apparently not. Apparently we are just doing what we did in the previous cycles, and this top right here looks like this top right here to me. Maybe I'm wrong, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, a new week is about to start tomorrow, so if we start dropping, then I mean that could be the all-time high. But like I said, if we just do nothing on the Bitcoin chart until March, which I think it's very unlikely, but if we do nothing, then Bitcoin dominance will most likely go sideways. However, if you look at the Bitcoin monthly returns chart, and actually let me pull that up, if you look at this chart, Bitcoin usually does very well in a post-halving year, and as you can see here in 2021, it went up about 36% in February, in 2017 it went up 23%, and in 2013 it went up 62%. So in every single cycle so far, Bitcoin went up in February, and we'll see if this happens again or not. At this point, I don't know, because I mean in the previous year, for example in December, Bitcoin closed a red wick, and this is very unusual because usually Bitcoin closes green wicks during the halving year, like it did right here in 2020. We went up like 47%, and in 2016 we went up like 30%, and this cycle we actually had a red wick. So maybe things are changing, but that's not really bearish in my opinion. I still believe that Bitcoin will get to new all-time highs very, very soon, and I still believe that it will top somewhere between, let's say, $255,000 and maybe even $300,000. I know that sounds insane, but keep in mind, in the 2017 cycle, for example, exactly like 7 years ago, well actually, yeah, 8 years ago, Bitcoin was at about, let's see, about $1,000, let's say. And from that point on, it went up another 1,100%. Now, of course, I'm not saying that from this point on, Bitcoin will go up another 1,800%, of course not. But you know, this shows us that yeah, Bitcoin can still grow in a post-halving year, and this always happens. And I don't know why people are surprised. I don't know, people are saying that we will only get to about $130,000 by the end of the year. That would look ridiculous in my opinion. So yeah, I don't think we'll only get to $130,000. However, you can expect a lot of resistance right here at the 1.618 trend-based Fibonacci extension. And once we get above that level, the road to about $190,000 should be extremely fast. And yeah, like I said, I don't believe Bitcoin is nowhere near close to topping. Now, going back to the Cardano chart, the weekly chart is still looking fine. If you look at the RSI, it has cooled off quite a lot. We went from being extremely overbought with an RSI of like 85 to now having an RSI of like 49, and Cardano is at like 70 cents. People are of course complaining because they bought the top, and like I said, in the long term, if you bought at $1.30, you should be fine, in my opinion at least. However, you should not come into my comments and complain that, you know, Cardano is not doing anything. I mean, if you bought down here, then you are still fine. But if you bought up here and you are complaining, I mean, that's your fault. So don't blame me for your decisions, you know. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon. If you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.